Bill, but I do want to ask John Perikles to come up here just to explain the spirit and why this bill is drafted the way that it is, if I can. Thanks.
Good afternoon, everybody. I've been the chief of the economic crime unit for coming up close to 3 years. My history prior to becoming the chief of economic crimes, I've gone back to the state attorney's office almost 30 years, and I've handled a variety of crimes from murder, sexual battery, money laundering, all sorts of things. I haven't since, other than animal abuse, I have not dealt with anything that has generated the amount of passion and community interest and angst as issues relating to condominiums. And I honestly, I don't live in a condominium. I haven't lived in a condominium. I wasn't aware really of what the unique situation was with condominiums, but I had to learn very quickly all the problems, and they're good things too, but all the problems that can arise in condominiums and condominium living. And people would come to me and they would tell me there are certain things. They would say that managers or board members are getting kickbacks. There's money that's being stolen. They would also complain that the rugs are dirty and that the parking lot is always crowded. It's my job to try to explain to those people that are making complaints that as an assistant state attorney, we are looking strictly at issues of criminality. Now, obviously, if you make an allegation of theft, we're going to try as best we can to look into that. You know, I'm in the economic crime unit, and if something relates specifically to theft, an organized scheme to defraud, which is something that's very much akin to theft. Basically it is. And so we're able to look at those things, but people were bringing me all kinds of complaints that what I'll call sort of the building blocks in condominium living that lead to the theft or enable the theft. And a good example of that would be election fraud. We're all aware, and there's been a lot of talk nationally about election fraud in public elections. I was not aware that fraud in ballot fraud, buying votes, destroying ballots, some of these things are open and notorious. Some of those things that happen within condominiums and that are alleged to take place in condominiums, I would get complaints and they would say, you need to arrest somebody, this is ballot fraud. Well, I started looking at the statutes, I did the research, and there is no statute that says if you cheat in a condominium election, you go to prison. And I found that kind of shocking because in my mind, I equate, and I've used this sort of analogy, but I do equate living in for a lot of people, living in a condominium is very much like living in a small town or city. It's different than a regular corporation, you know, Exxon or Google or whatever else. I mean, it's very, very unique and it has a unique set of circumstances. So I believe that the people that are entrusted to order and regulate the affairs within the condominium should be subject to some basic parameters beyond just being worried about a civil fine. But that's not in the law, and so I don't write the law, I don't make the law. What I try to do is help enforce the law, and I go to court. But I can't ask a judge to send someone away, and I can't file charges against someone if the law doesn't exist. Equally, I think probably half of the complaints deal with what people generically refer to as kickbacks. I have a tendency to sometimes get into the weeds on things. I don't want to do that here, but just suffice it to say that we've done as much research as we can, and the normal kickback, and what I mean by kickback is everyone understands that a group of contractors may come and they make bids for painting or whatever else on a condominium, and board members will select one. And if the board should select somebody that happens to give them a little gratuity, for instance, I've had cases where there have been allegations that we're going to redo your kitchen, or we'll put an alarm in, or we'll do something for you, especially, not for everyone else. If I cannot prove that the residents in the condominium had to pay a higher price, that there was a premium put on that it's simply some of the profit that the contractor got as a little gratuity, sending something, whereas if I, as an assistant state attorney, got a little gratuity for dropping a case or for doing something, I would go to jail or prison. That wouldn't happen necessarily, in all likelihood, to someone in a condominium, because unless we can show that there's a theft, that the people in the condominium have lost money as a result of it, there's really not much for us to do. And so I believe, and it makes sense, that these are matters that I think all of us know are wrong. We all sort of quantify it, we all characterize it that way. But just because we think it's wrong, people tell me and they cry in my office that it's wrong, doesn't mean that the law addresses that. So this statute is designed, I think, and I want to say one other thing, and I know I have a tendency to drone on. I'm very passionate about this topic. That a lot of people think that as a prosecutor, I just want to make a crime out of everything. I don't. I also live in this state, I live in this world. I don't want everything to be criminalized. I think that the idea behind the statute is not to turn every act, because there's a lot of things in here that are law, that say you shall not do this or you shall do that, you know, not do that. Most of those things in the condominium statute, if you violate them, they don't impact criminal law at all. These are fairly narrowly tailored. For the most part, they're things that I think that anybody would agree that are wrong. I mean, and you don't need to be told that destroying a ballot is wrong. You don't need to be told that taking a kickback is wrong. But the mere threat of a civil infraction hasn't seemed to have been enough to get people to comport their behavior. And I don't want to cast aspersions, because I think most condominiums that run fine, but those that don't, it's very frustrating for me as a prosecutor and for my team of prosecutors to face people and deal with people and say, look, you've outlined all these facts. We can send it to DBPR, they can investigate, they may conclude that it's voting fraud. You know, there was a problem. But their options are rather limited. And the police simply say, and I tried when I got there, they said, look, John, there's nothing we can do about this. One other thing that I just want to mention, and I'll shut up, I promise.
Please speak.
Is relates to records. And I know that I spoke to the senator, I know that there's been some pushback with respect to the records requirements. A lot of condominium residents make a lot of requests for records. As a public servant, I know that we also get records for public records. At times, it can seem aggravating, and it can seem to interfere with what it is that you're doing and you're trying to accomplish. But it's our requirement it's our duty to try to get those records, to assemble them, and to turn them over. And you don't have to explain why you want them, it's just your right to them. The condominium statute affords that right to the residents of the condominium, because they may want to learn something that, may in their mind be criminal, maybe something that's wrong that's happening. Maybe they just want to know, more about the financial circumstance of the condominium, and they don't have any intention of filing a lawsuit or running for election against somebody. It's really not for me to say why someone's requesting a record. And I think, and I don't have an exact statistic on this, but I know that DBPR gets a lot of record requests, objections, and problems, and complaints. I think for the most part, in most cases, they're able to kind of work through those. I mean, we can quibble over some of the details, but they're able to work through those. But in those condominiums where the people that are running it have in mind the bad intent that they're trying to steal, and they're in control of the records, either directly or indirectly through the community association and the manager, they don't want to make it easy, and they will throw up obstacles, and they'll do many things, and I've seen many things. In fact, I'm in litigation now, where they've hired a lawyer, and it can go on for months and months. And this is actually through a subpoena. So with DBPR saying, hey, you need to turn up these records, and then they may turn over half of them, or they may turn over a third of them, and then some of the things are missing, it can get very problematic. And so one of the building blocks of a police and a state attorney case is to be able to look at the records to see what's there. And if somebody destroys records, because the assumption may be that they're trying to cover up a crime. Well, I can't charge somebody now. There's nothing. I mean, if they could put them in a barrel and burn them right in front of me, right after a request is made. I don't know what DBPR would do. I mean, what they're empowered to do. They could find that there's a violation, and they could fine the condominium association for a flagrant violation, I suppose. There's not a crime. And it seems to me that if someone is destroying records or hiding records, particularly with an intent to do harm to the members of the condominium or to try to get a benefit for themselves, that there should be some penalty imposed. I know we can disagree over, what level of intent is required, and we don't want to trip anybody up. Trust me that the state attorney's office and the police in Dade County don't want to go around and deal with every record request that takes place and say, we're going to slap cuffs on somebody. But as a building block in a case, if we start to look and we see that there's a consistent pattern where records are being destroyed, that is a very important investigative tool. And that's why I think those sections are in the statute, and that's why that they're